Hi everyone. Good to see you on my channel today. Today I will tell you a wonderful story. It is full of love and kindness. I hope you enjoy it and I wish you an enjoyable viewing experience. Thank you.
He ran into the bank branch and immediately pointed a gun at the teller. "It's okay," the superintendent walked toward him. "Don't you get?" "Stop," he was aiming at her. "Man, everything is fine, but you are out of time." She looked at the employees are frightened. "You have to pick a time for a robbery." The hand with the gun in it was shaking. "What do you mean? We agreed on 3 hours." She looked at the watch that was on her hand. "What are you talking about? What 3 hours?" He thought she was stalling on purpose, ran up to her and grabbed her from behind, wrapping his arms around her neck. At that moment, the woman realized that this was not a drill that had been planned at the bank for today. She walked out to the robber herself. Harry was brought to the ruler by his mom. She had no time, so she left the boy and walked away. He stood and looked around because he was new here. "Hi, what class are you looking for?" A girl came up to him. "4th A," the boy answered her. "Let's go," she led him along. "Okay," he followed. And so they entered the crowd of children who were standing near the teacher. "Hello, are you Harry?" She leaned over to him. "Yes," he looked at the woman with clear blue eyes. "And I'm Natalie." She touched his shoulder and put him in the front row. Harry was uncomfortable. He didn't know anyone here, and his mom was gone. But he stood and looked in front of him, trying to pretend he was fine. "Are you worried?" The same girl who brought him here whispered in his ear from behind. A little. He didn't want to fool her. "It'll be okay." She looked around so no one would see them whispering. "Thank you." He really was grateful to her. No one else spoke to him. After the bell rang, everyone applauded, and then the teacher led them into the classroom. "Will you sit with me?" The girl took his hand. Yes, he smiled because he was confused at first. All the boys knew each other, so they were already in pairs. "Kira, come to the board and tell us. What's today?" The boy saw Natalie looking at his desk mate. "Okay." She got up, went to the blackboard, and started talking about what an important day today was, because they came to 4th grade today, which is the last grade of elementary school. "Good girl," the teacher thanked her. "Harry, now you come here," she called out to him. He realized that now he would be introduced to the class and went to the blackboard. "Guys, this is our new student. His parents moved to our town, and now he will study together with you in class." Everyone clapped. "So you're Harry," said the girl when he returned to his desk. "Yes, and you're Kira." That's how they met. From that moment on, the boy and the girl became very close friends. She always supported him, and he helped and protected her when needed. "What's that you got?" It's been a few months of study. They were sitting in a math class. "Don't mind him." He pulled his shirt sleeves lower. "A burn?" Kara guessed. "Yeah, he'd always been self-conscious about that scar." "Look," she lifted her hair. There was a scar there. "How did you do that?" Harry wondered. "When I was a kid, I hit a swing," she admitted. "It must have hurt." He wrinkled his nose. "I don't remember. It was true." "Come over to my house tonight." The girl called him to come over. Good, he liked being friends with her. After school, Harry would walk home. They lived in a 2-story apartment building. It was like a dormitory. Same long hallway and apartments, only the kitchen and bath were inside each one. When she and my mom came here and she went to work, this was the housing she was given. "I'm going to Kira's today," he told his mother. Yep, she was sitting in the kitchen having a drink, like many other days. After Dad left them, she hadn't stopped doing it. She would leave for work early in the morning and would be back by the afternoon. The son looked at his mother. He felt sorry for her. He put his textbooks on the table, looked at what was assigned, did his homework quickly, and changed his clothes to go to his friend's house. She lived in a nice apartment that always smelled good. Harry loved to visit them. Kira's mom would treat them to cake and tea. "You all ready?" She opened the door for him. "Yes, I did my homework and came straight to you," he admitted. "Come in." She stepped back a little. Before Harry could take off his shoes, Kira's mom invited them to the table in the kitchen. The boys sat eating gingerbread and drinking tea. "As always, everything is delicious." "Thank you," said Harry. They left the table and went to the girls' room. There Kira was showing a new stamp album, and then they watched TV. "That's it, I gotta go." He was going home for the evening. See you tomorrow." His girlfriend saw him off. Harry came home. His mother was already asleep. There was nothing in the kitchen. Good thing he had picked up a couple of gingerbread men when he was visiting. Now the boy ate them, drank plain water, and lay on the couch. He looked at the woman he loved with all his heart and realized that she was killing herself. And what if she really was gone? What would happen to him then? The orphanage. He didn't want to think about it, but the thoughts themselves came into his head. Mommy, he lay down next to her. And she rolled over onto her other side. I love you so much. He put his arms around her and snuggled up to her. They slept like that until morning. Harry, what are you doing? You're a big boy. Woke up his mother in the morning. Mom, please don't drink. I'm scared, he asked her. My problem, she was going to. She had to hold on to this place. If she got fired, she'd lose her place. Please, let's distract ourselves in some other way. Go to the movies. Go to the park. Just don't drink, Harry begged. Fine, we'll go everywhere. She walked out the door. Selena walked out into the hallway and cried. After Evan left, she forgot about everything, feeling sorry for herself. What about the child she had once waited for and loved so much? The woman went to work. She promised herself that today she would not drink a drop. In the evening, Harry sat at his desk, reading a textbook, his mother unusually long hours at work. As the door slammed, he looked up. A woman brought some bags. It was strange. Usually her hands were empty. Son, come on, help me, she asked him. The boy quickly jumped off the couch. He went to his mom, took the bags. They were heavy. What did you bring there? He wondered. Now we with you will boil a delicious soup, Selena said, and laid out the products on the table. At the very bottom, the guy saw a rooster, his eyes shining with happiness. Before, when they lived with his dad, his mom would come home and always buy him one. Thank you, he hugged her. He didn't want to cry, but tears rolled from his eyes. I promise you that I will never be a bad mother again. The woman was crying too. The family's life was better now. Selena bought new wallpaper. She asked her neighbor to help, but Harry was not superfluous here either. After that, there were new curtains on the windows. There was a carpet on the floor. Now it was not ashamed to invite Kira to visit. They met outside the school. Harry walked up to the girl. Wow, she was looking at him. The guy was wearing new pants, jacket, and boots. It's okay. I was expecting you to have that reaction. They were heading towards the entrance. I'm sorry. Kira was embarrassed, but she did like the way the guy looked. They continued to study and be friends. There were good times in the boy's life now. As the boys got older, Kira started going out with girls. Harry did not like this, so more and more often he stayed at home. Mom found a part-time job. Disappeared for a long time. She was not at home. But now it did not upset the guy so much. He realized that the woman is busy. Mom, why don't you find someone else? Sometimes he'd sit down and ask her. I don't know. I still love your dad. I can't forget. She hugged her son. Harry let her do it, even though he was at an age where boys were shy. He received so little affection from his mother that he wanted to savor these rare hugs. It must be such strong feelings, the boy sighed, because he himself remembered his father more than once. Harry, come with us tonight? Kira called him when they were in 7th grade. Where to? He asked. The boy socialized with her. It was at home or at school. He never went anywhere. He didn't like noisy companies. We're going camping. All ours will be there. The girl said cheerfully. You know, I'll probably stay home. He wanted to go, but only with her. Okay, suit yourself. She smiled that beautiful smile. And the boy was alone again. He had no friends, no one. Mom, why don't we get a dog? He asked her. What are you talking about? We have nowhere to turn around, and you have a dog. The woman laughed. Harry was sad. He wanted so much to find a friend. A year later, his dream came true. A man appeared in the house who became close to his mother and to him. Anthony introduced himself then as he walked through the doors. Harry shook the boy's hand like an adult. So Harry, are we going to be friends? He put his arm around the kid's shoulders. Yes, he nodded and looked at his mother. She was smiling. Selena met him at work. She herself doesn't know why, but he immediately drew her to him like a magnet. Just 2 weeks of meeting, and they realized they couldn't live without each other. Now Anthony was living with them, which Harry was very happy about. Come and see, the man called out to him. And the man was just waiting for him. He was curious about what the man was doing at the table. He came over, and Uncle Anthony showed him how to solder one wire to another and many other things. "Well, how are you here?" Mother would come home from work. Fine. Anthony would get up and walk over to her. On Saturday, Harry was still asleep when his stepfather approached him. "Wake up," he said quietly. "What? It's the day off," rubbed the man's eyes. "Let's go to the woods," showed Anthony the basket. Okay, the guy didn't care where or when, as long as he was with him. They picked a lot of mushrooms that day. His stepfather told and showed him which ones they could pick and which ones they couldn't. "Can I take a friend with me next time?" Harry asked. "Sure, do you already have a friend?" Anthony wondered, because the guy was always at home. "Yes," nodded the man. "We've been friends for a long time." "How about tomorrow?" The man saw another mushroom under the tree. "Okay, I'll tell her." Harry watched the man check to see if it was wormy. They returned home happy. Anthony quickly cleaned up all the things they had found today. Harry was doing the potatoes in the meantime, and within an hour they were already enjoying the flavorful fried potatoes with mushrooms. "Very tasty, thank you." The boy stood up from the table. "You're welcome," his stepfather smiled back at him. "Hi, Harry came over to his friend's house tonight." "Hello, she was kind of sad." "Listen, today Anthony and I went to the woods for mushrooms. You know how interesting that is," he told her excitedly. Neg, she didn't seem at all interested in where or with whom her friend was right now. "Come with us tomorrow," he took her hand. "Sorry," she pulled her hand away and looked away. "What are you doing?" Harry didn't understand that. "Archie dumped me," she answered and sobbed. "What?" The boy almost choked. His heart felt like it was going to burst. "We walked, we talked, we danced at the disco, we even kissed, and he came today with someone else," Kira said, and Harry's eyes were spinning. He sat there, staring at the girl point blank. Of course, he never thought they were dating or anything, but Kira had always been so good to him that he thought they would always be together. "Don't feel bad, everything will work out for you," he told the girl. "Okay, I'll go with you tomorrow," Kara hugged him. Summer flew by quickly. The guys were already in 9th grade. Now everything was serious. At the end of the school year they had to take exams. "Are you with me?" Anthony stood in the doorway, a basket in his hands. "It's so cold already," he wondered. "It's okay, the Gruzdaki are still sitting," the man knew for sure. But Harry wondered. He had never seen mushrooms picked at this time of year. "See, a knoll," leaned his stepfather under one of the trees. Yes, the boy looked surprised. They used to pick mushrooms that were clearly visible. Digging around there he was. Anthony rejoiced at his find. It was a discovery for Harry. He was so engrossed in finding the pearls that he forgot about everything. This activity was so interesting. Other mushrooms you just saw cut them off and put them in the basket. But here you saw a small mound went over, removed the soil, leaves or needles, and there was a mushroom, and maybe there was nothing. "I like picking chestnuts so much," Harry said to his stepfather when they sat down to rest. "Yes, it is fascinating," the man agreed. The baskets were full and they had to get home. "Oh, and there are more," the boy pointed and ran to the tree. Enough, they would still need to be cleaned. Anthony knew it wasn't a minute task. Over there, Harry realized that, but he couldn't stop. He ran up to the tree and dug with his knife, but there was a lump under a pile of leaves. But the boy didn't stop. He tossed it aside and dug again. "Harry, why are you stuck there?" his stepfather shouted to him. "Wait," the boy was already not on the joke interested. "There are none at this depth," the man assured him. "There's something here." The guy made a decent hole with a knife. "Wow, you dug a hole." Anthony laughed as he approached him. "Look," he showed him a metal object. It was a rusted flat piece of iron, and for some reason it caught Harry's interest. "What are you going to do with it?" Stood and watched the boy digging further stepfather. "I do not know, just curious." Like all boys, he was glad that he found some treasure. Finally, the iron gave way, and the boy pulled it out of the ground. It turned out to be some kind of cigarette case, and he handed it to his stepfather. "It's an antique," he looked at it. "Yeah, I tell you, it's a real treasure," Harry rejoiced. "Let's go." Anthony tried to open the iron because he saw it was possible. At home they sat down at the table. There the man took a thin screwdriver, hooked the edge. He managed to open it a little. The case was rusty, and if you keep doing this, it will just break. "What's in there?" The boy was waiting. "I don't know." Anthony tilted it and shook it a little. a coin fell out onto the table. "Give it to me." Harry realized it was his find, and even though some coin, but he had found it himself. After all this, they went to clean the mushrooms. First they soaked them in water, and then they had to work with a knife and a sponge. By the time Sveta came home, everything was ready. After Harry found the coin, he put it in his pocket and never parted with it again. He noticed that when she's with him on a test, he's sure to get a good grade. "What's that?" Kira saw the coin one day. "It's my talisman that brings me happiness." He clasped it in the palm of his hand. "That's old age." That's when the girl turned away. "If you don't like it, don't look at it." Harry put the coin in his pocket. In the spring, all the children were preparing for exams. Harry rarely talked to Kira now. He wanted to suggest to her not to go to 10th grade, but to go to enroll. "No, I will study at school," the girl told him then. "Why? Why would you do that?" "Only to waste time," the guy persuaded her. "You see, Alexander's staying, and I'm going with him." She didn't look at Harry. "He does not notice you." The guy knew that Kira liked the guy from the parallel class who persistently did not see her. "It's okay, you just need a little time and everything will be fine." She started to run her hand over the ruffles on her dress. "Kiera, I've enjoyed being friends with you all these years." Harry realized that he would never talk to her again. He felt like he'd have been betrayed by the person closest to him. He realized that they had never agreed on anything, but the feeling of pain in his chest didn't get any less. "What are you talking about?" She looked him in the eye. "Here, may this bring you luck." He handed her his lucky coin. "It's your talisman." She held the iron in her hand. "And now it will be yours. Just don't lose it, and you'll definitely be lucky." He walked away from her. Harry, she wanted to catch up with him, but he ran. Exams were behind him. The boy didn't care about anything else. He wasn't going to go to any graduation. He just wanted to get a document, that's all. "It's a very important holiday in every student's life," his mom told him. "Not in mine." Harry had already made up his mind, and it was hard to change his mind. "As you know, I remember we've been looking forward to this day." She looked at Anthony. "He doesn't want to. Let him not go," he shrugged. Harry, as he wanted on the morning of the day graduation was to take place, went to see his teacher. They had a good talk. The guy got his certificate, said goodbye, and left the school. "Where to next?" my stepfather asked. "I will go to the radio technical school." The guy has long thought it all out. "Shall I accompany you?" Anthony was always ready to support the kid. Yes, it was very good. Harry loved it when he and his stepfather were together. A week later, the man and the boy were already taking seats on the bus. They were going to enroll. "Are you sure?" Anthony turned to Harry. "Of what?" He didn't understand. "Knowledge?" The man laughed. Of course he had studied, and he knew a lot. The papers were filed. The exams were today in a few hours. "Shall we go to the park while there is free time?" asked the boy. Good. Anthony himself was not against riding a couple of rides. After a little fun they made for themselves, with ice cream in hand, they headed back to the technical school. Harry wasn't too worried. He pulled out a ticket and brightened up. He got a topic he knew very well. Without leaving the table, he asked the teachers if he could answer at once. They agreed. It was obvious that he had been preparing. The members of the committee muttered among themselves. After Harry left the classroom, he told his stepfather that they could go home. "What about waiting for the lists and everything else?" "Got in." "Didn't get in," he told him. "I'm sure I got in," Harry said in a way that made Anthony believe him too. They went to the train station, and in 2 hours they were home. In the evening, the three of them sat at the table. The mother was happy for her child was now going to go to school. "How will you be alone there?" She looked at him. "Do not worry, everything will be fine." The guy was sure of it. "Why, we'll visit him," said Anthony. "Of course you will. Remember how you and I relaxed in the park. We'll go there with you all." Harry looked at the man and thought that his mother was lucky to have a companion in her life. The summer passed quickly. Anthony and Harry went to the woods, did things around the house. There was plenty to do. "Do you want me to help you pack your bag?" his mother asked him when he was a week away from going to school. "I think I can do it myself," Harry told her. "What a mature son I have," the woman said in thought. Harry arrived. He got settled in the dormitory. Now the plan was only to study and nothing else. Sometimes he remembered Kira, how they walked with her, what they talked about. The guy realized that they had been communicating for so many years, and she had not realized what he felt for her. But all this was already behind them in the past. so it was necessary to think about the future, about the present, about what to do now. Harry had really devoted his first year to his studies. He was praised. He himself realized that he was doing well. He had one more year to study, and then he could go to work. But the boy knew that he would not go to work right away. First, he had to serve in the army. He was preparing for it. He was not afraid. His parents came often. These days they liked to walk around the city. Harry would show them and tell them what was here and how. How nice it was here, Selena said. She liked walking with two interesting men. There's a reason I keep asking you to come here, his son smiled. In the summer, when he came home, together with Anthony they did all the same things, went to the woods, picked berries and mushrooms. Also that summer, Anthony suggested they go to the south. Harry had never been to the sea before, so he agreed. It would be a wonderful trip, he was happy. And so the family, which consists of 3 people, is already sitting on the train and going to a place where it will be warm and fun. Harry, like a child splashing in the sea. Did you swim to the boys? Anthony told him. Why, let's race. Harry answered him. Whatever you say, and they swam together to the colorful balls and then back. Selena watched them and was happy for the man to treat her child this way, and Harry accepting of his companionship. Well, when his studies at the technical school were coming to an end, Harry received a summons. He was expecting it, so he was not surprised. Now the service was coming, he informed his parents about it. They gathered the table and everything else to meet the guests who would come to see their son off. Aren't you scared? His mom asked him. What is there to be afraid of? My son didn't understand. You have to serve in the army. Anthony approached them. He was sure of it, because he had served. Thank you. Harry shook his hand. He left with a light heart, knowing that nothing would happen to him. The guy had gotten into the border troops. It had been hard, but Harry was coping with everything. He didn't socialize much. He was alone most of the time. Why are you always sitting here? A guy who slept in the next bed to him came up to him. I don't know, I like to be alone. For some reason he remembered Kira at that moment. Did your mother write it? Nodded at the letter on the table. No, the stepfather, they're together. Harry corrected himself immediately. Anthony wrote to him almost every day. He gave him some advice, asked about various things, and told him how he himself had been in the conscription service. Wake up. There was a command in the morning. Harry woke up. There was no time. He had to get dressed quickly. The guy was happy because he realized that today was the countdown of his last 100 days. There was no time to be bored. Every day there were drills, duty at the post and other things. The time flew by quickly. Harry made himself a nice uniform, Barrett, Axelbent. Everything was on him. He wanted his mother to see him in full parade. Hello, his mother and Anthony were standing on the platform when the train pulled up. Hello, he shook his stepfather's hand and gave his mother a hug. After that, they went home and the table was already set. How was it? Anthony looked at his stepson, who had grown up. Great, I don't know what everyone wants to do. He ate a home-cooked meal and enjoyed it. What are you planning to do now? The woman asked. I do not know. I will go to the place where I studied. There I will get a job, reasoned calmly the guy. That's right, the man patted him on the shoulder. Harry, what he planned, what he wanted to realize. At first his parents helped him to rent an apartment. He found himself a good place, true. The payment was not as much as he would have liked, but the young man did not despair. Hello, do you take telephones? A girl came in one day. Yes, he nodded. Harry was engaged in the repair of various equipment, including phones. Here, look, is there any hope? She handed him the machine. Okay, I'll take a look. Come back in 2 days. If I can do something, I'll return it to you ready. And if not, he looked up at her and shrugged. Okay, thanks. She smiled and walked out. Harry started unwinding the small box. He wondered every time what was wrong and what part was faulty. As he promised. 2 days later, it was done. The phone had been repaired. Now it was waiting for its owner to arrive. For 2 nights, she hadn't left Harry's mind. He couldn't understand why. Hello, she came in. Good afternoon. Harry had never done this before. But now he stood up, got up from behind his counter, and walked over to her. Did you get it? She looked at him. Yes, here you go. He handed her the phone. Thank you very much. She took the phone from his hands, put it in her purse, and reached for her wallet. No need, he stopped her. What do you mean? She didn't understand. Just, it's my gift to you, he smiled. For the first time after talking to Kira, he liked the girl. Now he stood looking at her. All work must pay, she insisted. Well, if you want to thank me, go to lunch with me. He felt himself starting to blush. Is that how you meet everyone here? She was getting flirty. No, he answered honestly. Okay, let's go. The girl was sympathetic to the guy. They walked out of the building and headed to a cafe that wasn't far away. My name is Harry, he said when they were almost to the door. Angelica. She walked through the door the guy opened. Nice to meet you, he said, looking at her back. And me. Angelica didn't look back. She was already choosing a table to sit down at. They settled in nicely and placed their order. And how many girls have you brought here already? Smiled the girl. Can I use your name? Harry asked. Sure. They had their order brought to them. You're the first. He felt his face start to blush again. Why? Of course it was interesting to the girl. When you burst into my small office, it was like lightning struck me. Harry was telling the truth. That's good to hear. She looked at him with eyes that Harry couldn't look into them. He was melting. If I asked you out on a date, would you say yes? He asked the girl bluntly. What are we having right now, an acquaintance? She laughed again. You could say so. His inner core was not broken. The guy, as always, what he thought, what he did, never cheated himself. Okay, I agree. Angelica smiled. Then on Saturday at 6 o'clock in the evening, come here. Or, if you tell me where, I'll come for you myself. The young man spoke calmly. Yes, she wrote the address and phone number on a napkin. You can come here. Tea? He lifted from the table a small teapot that had been there for a long time. Yes, thank you. She set the cup down. After the young people had eaten, Harry wanted to see the girl off, but she refused because she was taking the bus. If you come with me now, you'll be late for work. And again that ringing laugh and beautiful smile. Okay then, see you later. Harry went to his room. Everything was jubilant inside. He was not shy and spoke to her. Now all that was left to do was wait until Saturday and everything would be fine there. There were 2 days left until the appointed time. There was time to think about what to buy as a gift, how to behave. The young man decided to call Anthony. Hello, he greeted him. Hi Harry, tell me about it. His stepfather was happy to hear from him. Listen, I have a date here. Could you tell me what to buy and how to behave? Ask for advice from an older friend guy. Wow, the boy has grown up. Anthony laughed again. I'm serious. Harry already wanted to hang up because the other end wasn't taking him seriously. No, it's fine, just happy for you. The man wouldn't let him do it. So what do you say? The young man waited for advice. Buy the best flowers. You do not yet know her preferences, and the bouquet always goes 100%, said with knowledge Anthony. And to lead like what to do, reminded Harry. Usually, as always, you're a bit and smart guy, no need to pretend. Be yourself, said calmly stepfather. Thank you, my mom says hi, I'm up the young man. He was in agreement with Anthony that flowers were the most classic version of a gift. On a first date, there was no need for more. Saturday morning, Harry was very nervous as of this morning. He didn't know what he should wear. He chose shirts, pants, but in the end he decided to take his stepfather's advice and be himself. If he liked it, it was fine, and if he didn't, it was the way it should be. Harry pulled out of the closet his favorite sweater and jeans, so it was comfortable and familiar. The young man went into the store, asking for a bouquet to be made for him. When it was ready, Harry said that he didn't need any wrapping. The flowers already looked good. He then went to the address Angelica had given him, sat down on a bench, and waited. Hi, sorry I'm late, came out the girl from the entrance. That's okay, I was about to call. He pointed to the phone in his hand. Harry really wanted to dial Angelica, but he didn't have the heart to. Is that for me? She looked at the flowers. Oh, sorry. He realized he had forgotten about them, handing the bouquet to the girl. It's okay. Now I believe that I'm really the first one you took on a date. She laughed her ringing laugh, which the guy liked so much. Shall we go to the movies? He watched her reaction. Of course, she didn't even hesitate for a second. Thought you'd say no, so he prepared a few more options, he exhaled. I like it so much that you say things directly. She appreciated the guy's truthfulness. Thank you, he smiled. They arrived at the movie theater just in time for the start of the show. Harry bought some popcorn and water, and then they walked to the auditorium. There they took seats in the center. The movie started. Harry watched how worried his companion was, watching the plot. He liked it. He realized that Angelica was emotional. And now where to? They left the theater. The girl said that she liked everything very much. Shall we go to a cafe? The guy suggested it. I agreed. She said something, discussed the movie, what moments she liked. And Harry walked beside her and realized that he wanted to be with her always. What to order? He handed her a menu. She ran her eyes over the menu and chose ice cream and juice. The boy ordered the same for himself, and they sat, chatting and enjoying each other's company. Harry then walked Angelica home. Will you meet me tomorrow? She asked him. Sure. He walked over to her and took her hand. And then the boy went home. He was cheerful and looked forward to the next day. He couldn't sleep at night because there was some excitement. The second day they met in the park. That's what they agreed between them. I feel like I've known you for a long time, Angelique said cheerfully. I have the same feeling. He walked over again and took her hand in his. All day they walked around, went on rides, ate ice cream and cotton candy. And at the end, Harry won a small soft toy for his girlfriend at the dash. You're so nice, Angelique said in the evening. And you're beautiful. He looked into her eyes. I want to be with you always. She walked over to him and Harry put his arms around her. Come to my place tomorrow, the young man whispered in her ear. Good, she agreed. The work week was starting. Harry realized he wouldn't have time to go out, but at home they could meet at least every day. Today the young people reached Angelica's house, said goodbye, and parted until tomorrow. Harry realized that this girl was his future wife, and he was ready to do anything to keep her with him. At night he slept badly again, thinking about her. Harry, can I buy something at the store to make dinner? She called him. Come over, I have everything. Today he left work on time on his way to the store and bought groceries and wine. Okay. Angelica disconnected. She was at his place in a few minutes. It was unusual. No girl or woman had been here before, not counting her mom. I was trying to do something here. He pointed to the table in the kitchen where there was cut up chicken, sauce, and lots of vegetables. Now she laughed. Afterward, Angelica would tell her what to do and Harry would help her. They soaked the chicken in the sauce, and while it stood aside and marinated, the young people prepared the vegetables. So unusual and pleasant, she said. What kind of things? He was peeling potatoes. She took the peeled vegetables from him and washed them under running water. It's my first experience, too, usually pasta or cereal, but it's very rare to cook like this, he told her. I think the chicken is ready. You can put it in the oven. She went to the table and put the meat on a tray and framed it with potatoes. Beautiful, he looked at the sheet, which was immediately put away in the oven. Let's see how good it tastes, she mumbled. While the chicken was in the oven, the boys retired to the room where Harry had set up a table with glasses and wine beforehand. We're having a romantic dinner tonight, Angelica said. I tried to make you like it. Harry really did everything for her. Believe me, I like it. She took the glass, raised it a little and then sipped it. How was it? The young man didn't know anything about wine at all. Good, she nodded. After a while, Angelica got up and went to the kitchen. A very pleasant aroma was spreading through the apartment. Do you need help? He followed her. Yes, if it's not too much trouble. She opened the oven door, and Harry put on his oven mitts and took out a baking pan. It smells really good. He inhaled and squeezed his eyes shut. Now let's try the flavor as well. She began to carve the meat. After that, the young man handed her plates, on which she placed everything. Angelica, you have golden hands. He tasted a piece. Thank you. I'm not the only one who tried. She was embarrassed. Do you know what I was thinking about tonight? He looked at her. Of course not, she laughed, the wine making both their cheeks redden. About you definitely becoming my wife. He ran his hand over hers. What? She froze and looked at him. No, I'm not saying we'll go to the registry office tomorrow. I just feel like you're the one for me. Harry was never one to be dishonest. He was straightforward. That's a lot in 3 days. She's been a bit withdrawn since that conversation. Did I do or say something wrong? Harry was afraid he'd offended the girl. No, it's fine. It's just that I'm not ready to do everything so quickly now, and she was telling the truth. Angelica, I'm not requiring you to do anything, just we're going to live. Things as they go, they go. I was just making a point. Harry sat closer to her. You're good. She put her arms around his neck. And you're the best. He kissed her cheek. Perhaps that evening, Angelica would have allowed himself to be kissed on the lips as well, but the young man didn't want to rush things. "Shall I walk you or call a cab?" he asked her when it was time to part. "Why would you walk? Let's call a car." She stood ready to get out. Now Harry called, and then they walked down to the courtyard together. "So, what shall we do tomorrow?" She looked at the young man. "Suggest." He waited to see what she would say. "Okay, then tomorrow I'll wait for you at my place." She looked at him and smiled. Deal. He was glad you would see how the one he liked so much lived. The car arrived. The girl got into the cabin. Harry closed the doors. She waved to him and drove off to her place. Harry realized that things were starting to get serious with the girl. That couldn't have been good. Now he was working at his job. Things were going very easily. The young man was on a positive note. After work the next day, he would hurry home. And then to the flower store for a bouquet, and straight to Angelica's house. "Hello," she greeted him, accepted the flowers, went to the hall, put them in a vase. "Hello." He walked into the spacious apartment, surprised. Wondering where a young girl got such an apartment, she guessed. Yes, he felt ashamed of being so open. He couldn't even hide his emotions. "Come on, I'll tell you all about it." She beckoned him into the kitchen. "Okay, if you don't want to, you don't have to do that," Harry muttered. "No, if you and I are together, why do we need any reticence?" She arranged the plates. Good. The young man felt bad for making the girl confess something and tell her story from the doorstep. When she had everything done on the table, they sat opposite each other. Angelica began to tell. "That day I will never forget," she said and stared at one point. "Angelica, you don't have to talk." Harry could see she was having a hard time. Mom said she had to go on a business trip. It didn't take her long to get ready, and she was ready by the evening. "In the morning I went to school, and I had to come to my neighbor, Baba Marie. My mom always left me with her," Angelica said, her eyes so sad. "In some moments I understand you." He sat down next to her to support her in this way. "In the morning, my mom left the apartment with me. The day went normally. After school I went to my neighbor's house. She was already waiting for me, sat me at the table, fed me. At that moment the girl cried. Oh my God, what happened?" Harry was already interested to finish the story, as long as everything seemed to be fine. "We sat at the table in the kitchen. I had eaten. I wanted to go home, but Baba Maria persuaded me to stay a little longer at her place. We went together with her to the room where the TV was working. Some news was on. Suddenly, I heard the name of our town, froze and turned to the screen. The camera was filming an accident that had happened a few hours ago. I saw my mom. She was lying on the snow. At this moment, Angelica was already crying, not hiding it. What happened? Harry couldn't understand. The bus crossing the crossing stalled. No one knows what happened. He hugged her, and she snuggled into his chest. "I'm sorry for stirring up your memories," he cooed. "It's okay, it'll calm down," Angelica said. They hugged for a while, and then she looked up at him. "That's how I got this apartment." She got up from her seat, went to the faucet, and poured herself some water. "This is going to be a sad night for you and me." Harry didn't mean for it to turn out this way. "You had to tell me at some point, didn't you?" She was sure of it. "Sure. Thanks for trusting me." He approached her again. "Harry, you said you understood me to some extent. You said you had parents." She had calmed down and now she was ready to listen to her. "Well, since it's revelation night, I'll tell you too." He thought about where to start. "Okay, I'm ready to listen." She looked at her watch. Even though it was late, they weren't going to split up. "When my father left us, my mother started to drink the bottle." He told his story, which had a bright moment when his mother understood everything. "It was good that you were able to make her understand." Angelica sat and looked at the guy. She realized that after this evening, things would get more serious between them. They started seeing each other every day. Angelica came to the young man at work, brought some treats. He was very pleased. He also made her surprises, which brought people even closer together. "Soon New Year's Eve, maybe we can go to my parents?" Harry asked Angelica. "Harry, in December. And let's celebrate the holiday together, and then we'll go," she suggested. Well, he almost always agreed with what his beloved told him. Harry was planning to propose to his girlfriend. They had been together for 6 months now. Even if she didn't agree to do it now, he was willing to wait. "Anthony, hi," he called his stepfather. "Hello, love." They hadn't spoken in months. Harry hadn't had time. "Listen, I've been thinking about proposing." He opened up to the man. "Wow," and silent, Anthony laughed. "We're going to your place after the party," the boy warned his stepfather. "That's good. I'll tell Selena. He could hear him smiling. So what's your advice? There was no one else to ask. So, well, a ring, that's understandable, Flowers. But what is so original to think of? Anthony stopped talking. How about a cake? I saw that in a movie, Harry. Yeah, so that she would break her teeth. Anthony continued to think. Then what? The young man waited for an answer. Come on, I'll check with your mom today and then I'll call you back, the stepfather said, because he was as much a man as Harry himself, and a woman knows what they like anyway. Okay, it's a deal, call me, said his stepson goodbye. He was ready to take responsibility for Angelica and her life. The feelings between them were pure and strong. Harry bought everything he needed. Harry, the ring was ready. Now it was just a matter of waiting for the day when he would say the cherished words to the girl. Harry, hi, his stepfather called back a few days later. Hello, the young man was glad to hear from him. Listen, we consulted, and since it will be New Year's Eve, we can arrange a small fireworks, the man said. I don't get it. How am I going to use the ring in the fireworks? Harry didn't understand. No, it won't be a real fireworks show, but right in the apartment. Buy one big balloon, fill it with confetti, and put the ring in it. All evening it will decorate the interior, giving festivity, and at the end you will say that you would like to arrange a salute especially for her. The main thing is that she herself brought the needle to the balloon. The balloon will burst, confetti, and then a ring, and while she is surprised by all this, you on your knee, and a heartfelt speech. All this, said Anthony with such enthusiasm that Harry realized that he would have done exactly the same. That's a wonderful idea, he thanked his stepfather. Harry imagined how surprised and delighted Angelica would be. He couldn't wait for the day they would sit down at the table. The girl asked for the young man's help. She needed to buy a Christmas tree and bring it home. She wanted a live one, because the artificial one was not beautiful. The young man did everything. He did not forget about the balloon, which should have contained all the most valuable things. Instead of confetti, which Anthony advised, Harry added rose petals. He thought it would be more romantic. Everything was ready for the party. Harry said he wouldn't come until the evening because he didn't want to be nervous beforehand. Okay, I'll be waiting for you, she kissed her lover. They sat at the table. Everything was very delicious. Angelica had long ago proved that she was a great hostess. Congratulations to you, my love. They kissed and drank champagne under the chimes. Do you want to know what I've prepared for you? She looked at him. Of course, he hadn't thought that Angelica would also give gifts. Here, she put a box on the table. What's in it? Harry wondered. He started to unwrap the wrapping. Inside was a pink box, and in it was the same color nipple. Did you get it? She looked at him. Love, and I prepared a little salute for you. He gave her a hand, for her to stand up. Harry then led her over to the balloon, handing her a small sharp pin. Burst. She looked at the beautiful shimmering balloon. Yes, he nodded. Angelica stood under the balloon and poked it with the pin, at which point petals fell on her and something clattered to the floor. Harry. She picked up the ring. My love, marry me. He was on one knee. You're such a romantic, they embraced. There could be no doubt, since Angelica was already expecting a child from him. It turned out that soon they would be husband and wife. The celebration went on with tenderness. Harry and Angelica were a beautiful and good couple. Well, shall we go to your parents? The young man asked his future wife. Yes, I have long wanted to meet them. Angelica was always on the positive side. You'll like them, Harry was sure. It was nothing at all to go, so in the evening they sat at the table with the whole family in the house where the boy grew up. We're so excited, Selena said. She liked Angelica. And I've wanted to meet you for so long. The girl also liked Harry's parents. They told them that they would be getting married soon. Angelica was sure that if she asked Selena, she would help her. She's not telling you the most important thing, Harry said. What? Their parents looked at them. Here, he put the box she had given him on the table. Angelica, the woman hugged her. Yes, I myself recently found out and wanted to surprise my beloved. She was pleased that the future mother-in-law was acting so friendly. They spent the night here and went home in the morning. Goodbye, Anthony and Selena saw them off. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Angelica looked at them. Agreed, the boys headed to the train station. The girl persuaded Harry to move in with her. Why do you resist? If you already have an apartment, why do you have to invent something? Angelica didn't understand it. All right, but all the payments I take on myself. He did not want to live at the expense of his wife. It was agreed. She agreed to everything, as long as they were together now. As agreed, Salima and her husband came to their house to help them prepare for the wedding. Wow, what a place. Anthony couldn't help but marvel. Quiet, his wife poked him in the side. It's okay, Harry had the same reaction. Angelica laughed. From that day on, she and her mother Selena started shopping. They had to buy a lot of things. It was decided that the young couple would celebrate the occasion in their apartment. There were not so many guests, only 10 people. So now they were buying not only outfits, but also food. Angelica and Selena were sure that they could cope with everything. Daughter, and where did Harry find you? The woman liked her daughter-in-law more and more every minute. She was sure that if the boy had not dared to offer her lunch, they would never have met again. The woman helped with everything. Everything was ready for the feast. It was decided that there would be no redemption, just the bride and groom gathered in different rooms. And afterwards, Harry came for his beloved. Friends, registry office, brides, and then home to celebrate it all at the table. Everything went well. Friends and parents congratulated. Young people were happy. So how you like being a wife? The mother-in-law asked her daughter-in-law in the morning. I didn't notice any changes. She was cheerful. Anthony and Selena stayed with the children for a few more days and then went home. Well, the holidays are over. Now comes the harsh reality, Angelica said. I had to go to the hospital to register and then work, which no one canceled. Yes, but every day with you is a holiday for me, he hugged his wife. And then began a normal life. Pregnancy was not very easy. Angelica often felt sick. Her blood pressure was rising, but she tried not to show it to her husband. She didn't want Harry to worry about her. Harry, come here, she shouted into the phone. Now he realized that it had all started. While he was getting dressed and getting home, he managed to call an ambulance. 2 cars, a cab and an ambulance, arrived at the same time. Angelica was taken to the hospital with her husband by her side. Everything will be fine, he kissed his wife and left her to the doctors. Everything went on for a very long time. Angelica was so exhausted that she could not do anything. And then finally, in the ward where she was lying, there was a child's cry. Veronica. She looked at the little lump that was placed on her chest. Mommy, rest, the nurse told her. But Angelica called Harry first, telling him that he had become a father. The young man was infinitely happy. Now he had another favorite little girl in his life. He was at home and was making sure that before his wife returned with the baby, everything was done there. Congratulations, greeted Angelica and her daughter by the young man's parents and himself. Beloved, he gave his wife flowers, kissed her, and took the baby in his arms. Thank you, looked at them the newly mommy with gratitude. At home she saw how beautifully everything had been done. The pink wallpaper, the crib, the dresser, the changing table, everything was there. It pleased Angelica that her husband cared about where they would return. Veronica was a quiet child. She did not cry and was not capricious, so that mommy did not have sleepless nights. The girl would wake up in the night, Angelica, as if she sensed it, she would take the baby to feed her. You are doing a great job. My husband came home from work and saw that his wife had time to do everything and to look after the child and wash and cook. Thank you, Angelica loved him. And Harry, after dinner, stood at the ironing board and began to iron diapers and the rest of his daughter's clothes. When the time came to put the girl in kindergarten, Angelica went to work. Now they took turns taking their daughter to and from school. There were times when they came together to pick up the girl. Time passed very quickly, so it was time for Veronica to go to the 1st grade. Her mother and father lead her by the hand to the line. Listen, let's buy a car and go on vacation in the South, Harry once said. He remembered going there with Anthony back then. It was a very warm memory. Can we make it? Angelica realized she'd have to apply for a loan. I think so, her husband was sure of it. After that, he called Anthony again and asked for help in choosing a vehicle. He was only too happy to help. I thought you would have done this a long time ago, his stepfather told him. Here, I decided to take the family to the South, Harry admitted to him. The young man had his license a long time ago. He had learned to drive a car before the army and then passed to get the document. They, together with Anthony, chose a suitable model. Now there was a means of transportation in the family. Can we wait until next year or spring? Angelica asked. Okay, I'll restore driving skills in the meantime. Her husband agreed with her. Veronica studied. It was easy for her parents to deal with her because almost everything the girl did herself. Here will come spring, we will go to the sea, promised her mother. It will be interesting, the daughter was sure. On every New Year's Eve, parents surprised the girl. It was not an easy day for them. Always came Santa Claus, who gave gifts and organized a mini holiday. How fun, once again said Veronica. As they were going to do, in the spring the family went to the south. The head of the family sat behind the wheel and his girls were beside him. It was a lot of fun on the road. They stopped often, took pictures, rested from the long sitting. How beautiful it is here, were they in the evening on the beach. Let's make it a tradition to come here every year, Harry suggested. We'd agree, said the mother and daughter. After a 2-week vacation in the sea air, everyone was rested and ready to start working and studying with renewed vigor. In the 3rd grade, Veronica became interested in skiing. She liked this sport very much. Daddy, will you buy me skis? She asked Harry. Of course, he saw her eyes light up when she got up on the piste. They went to a specialized store where they bought equipment. Now not only in the section, but also at home, they all went to the forest together to consolidate skills there. Look how I'm going to move out now, shouted Veronica to her parents. Come on, they were waiting for her at the bottom of the slide. Harry and Angelica were happy that the girl had a hobby. They supported her in everything. Hello, they came to meet the coach when their daughter had been practicing for 2 years. Greetings, the man shook hands with the father and nodded his head to the mother. Why did you call us? They could have come alone, but they couldn't. They wanted to do everything together. Don't worry, everything is fine. Your daughter is doing well. I want to take her to the regional competitions, said the man to her parents. And from us, what is required? Consent. Jubilant woman. Veronica waited so long for this that today she will be very happy. Yes, confirmed the coach. Of course we give it. Harry walked over to the table to sign the paper. Hopefully it wasn't all for nothing. The one who coached their daughter stood up and said goodbye to her parents. Surely she wouldn't let you down, they were sure. They walked home in good spirits. Harry and Angelica had unequivocally decided that they would go with Veronica. They couldn't leave her and let her down. Can you imagine how happy she'll be? The wife told her husband. Of course they were happy. When the daughter found out that she was going to the competition, she started practicing movements and techniques. Her father and mother just watched and couldn't believe that she was doing so well. Do you mind if we cheer for you there too? Her father asked her. You what? It's such a powerful support. The girl was happy that she had such parents. There were a lot of people at the stadium, but the husband and wife did not see or hear anyone. Their eyes were fixed on the girl who stood at the start. And here, the clap. Athletes snapped out of their seats. Veronica immediately broke ahead. Only if she had enough strength. Harry knew that if she started hard right away, she would be exhausted by the end of the course. She has stamina. Angelica clapped and shouted the girl's name. Yes, Veronica didn't get first today. She took 2nd place, but that's also a medal and a podium. Will you go with everyone by bus or with us by car? Asked her father. With everyone, she didn't want to be separated from the team. Okay, we'll follow. Her parents got into the car. At home, they decided to organize a celebration for the girl on the occasion of her victory. The coach praised her very much, said that her technique was excellent. From that day on, Veronica was taken seriously. Now she attended training twice as often, but she never complained. So, shall we go? They were going on their next trip to the south. Every year they went to a different place so it wouldn't be the same. We should check with the coach, Veronica said knowledgeably. Good, it wasn't against the parents. And of course the coach wasn't a beast. He let the girl go on vacation. In the summer, training did not stop, so that athletes did not lose their grip. The girl did not mind, she tried, because she knew that all this is done for a reason. Now Veronica traveled to various competitions. Her mother and father no longer accompanied her. They only rejoiced when her daughter brought another medal. Are you happy? Her mother often asked her. Very, she hugged her and her father. In the family always reigned harmony. No one quarreled. Everyone loved and respected each other. When the girl studied in the 10th grade, the coach suggested that she go to the national team. But to do this, you need to leave home for a while, he warned her. I will certainly talk to my parents, but I don't think they will be against it. Veronica was sure. They would. The coach was proud of what he could make out of this fragile girl. Parents, she came home. Another competition. Harry guessed because that was how she always started the conversation when she had to leave. No, she told them everything the coach had told her. Come on, it's your dream. How can we be against it? Except, won't it affect your studies? Worried her mother. No, the teacher said that I can study in there, only after that to pass the exams at school. Veronica knew that everything can. Now Harry and Angelica were preparing for the fact that they would not see their daughter for several months. It was decided to call the grandparents and arrange a send-off. Everything will be fine, the woman hugged her granddaughter. I know this, the girl was strong, she didn't even cry, unlike her mother. She left, began intensified training. Veronica did not spare herself. She ran to exhaustion, only to be taken. You can do it, the teacher promised her. I know was confident pupil, but still very worried. When there were the first reviews, she was put with other girls. It was necessary to run a relay race. Veronica was on the last stage. She could not let the team down. Her colleague ran third. Now either she would pull the team out or let everyone down. Veronica was determined. She felt the track very well. She saw the back of the one who ran second, a little bit tensed up, and now she was behind her. And with the first, Veronica was just lucky. She did everything right on the descent. It was her specialty. At the finish, the girl was the first. It was not only a victory in the relay, it was her personal victory that she was able to do everything right. Mom, I'm first. I made it. She shouted into the phone. We congratulate you, and we're holding our fists, Angelica told her. But this was not all the tests. It was necessary to pass an individual race. And here the girl showed herself in all her glory. The coach hugged Veronica. He was confident in her. But now, when she was in the national team, he could not believe that it was him who noticed her once. That's it. Now go home for a while, and there you'll start a whole different life, the man told her. Okay, I miss my parents so much, she was happy. At home, she was greeted like a winner, rocked in her arms, kissed, given gifts. You spoil me, the girl said. You deserve it, we're sure mother and father. So are we going on vacation? Harry asked his girls. Yes, this will probably be the last time I go with you. There will be no more time after that, Veronica assumed. It's okay, we'll steal you away from them, her father said in her ear. Don't make me laugh, she laughed, reminding me of her mother. And again they are in the car, driving through the cities of the United States, admiring the sights. Why don't we sing? Angelique suggested it. They often did it because they liked to sing, and it became more fun in the car. Ours? Harry turned to her. Of course, she turned to her daughter. The song was going well, and the family was looking forward to a great vacation. But it was not to be. At some point, everyone felt a bump. Their car was thrown into the oncoming lane, and at full speed they crashed into another car. Angelica, Harry didn't know how long he had been out. He could taste the salty taste of blood in his mouth. It was dark outside. Only the glow of the ambulance flashers could be seen. The man turned around. His wife wasn't there. He tried to get out of the car, but he couldn't. The door was jammed. Are you awake? He heard someone's voice. Man, how are you feeling? A rescue worker came up to him. What happened? Where's my wife? He was looking at him. You were in a terrible accident. He answered him to the first part of the question. Harry was then pulled out of the car. He had fractures in both legs and something in the collarbone area. No, as he was being carried in on a stretcher, he saw a black bag on the ground that was closed completely. What's wrong with you? Someone leaned over him. Who is it, my wife? He couldn't believe it had ended like this. I'm sorry for your loss. Harry couldn't see who he was talking to, but he was so bitter about it. At that moment, he remembered something. He started to get up on the stretcher, a terrible pain shooting through his body. Where are you going? A hand stopped him. Veronica, my daughter, where is she? He was already screaming. They'll tell you everything, the man said confidently. Harry was placed inside the ambulance. He heard a terrible scraping noise. What is it? He looked at the man sitting next to him with tear-filled eyes. Your daughter was trapped inside. We had to call the rescue team. Now they are releasing her from the iron captivity, he said calmly, and drew some medicine into a syringe. Is she alive? That was the most important question for the father. Yes, but badly injured, he injected. After that, the pain subsided a bit, and Harry kept thinking about Veronica. How she would continue skiing now, how she would take the news that her mom was gone. It was all in his head. "Let's go," the young nurse shouted, and the car started up. "It's all my fault," Harry kept saying. He would never forgive himself for not keeping his most beloved girl safe. Tears were running down his cheeks. The man was crying, and he didn't even want to stop it. "Don't be silly," tried to calm him down the man who was now by his side. Once he was in the hospital, several x-rays were taken. His legs turned out to be really broken, and his shoulder hurt because there was a severe dislocation there. "I need a phone right away," the man said. "Okay, you'll get one soon," the nurse who helped bring him to the room promised him. Harry was in a cast. They put him on the bed, his leg hung in a stretch. "Anthony, hi," he called his stepfather, telling him what happened. "How come?" He heard on the other end that the person he was talking to was very upset. "Come over, I need your help," he asked his parents. Of course, they were ready to leave right away. The son had such grief that it was impossible to sit still. "Thank you," he hung up the phone, and again tears flowed from his eyes. How could this have happened? Why God had let Angelica go and not him? There were so many questions. Anthony and Selena arrived early in the morning. They were outside their son's room. "Can I see him?" the mother asked the doctor. Yes, of course. He opened the door in front of them and walked in there himself. "Harry, hello," his mother called him like a little boy. "Hello," he looked at Anthony. "I want to talk to you all at the same time so I don't have to explain individually later," the medic muttered. "Okay, we're listening." 3 pairs of eyes stared at him. "As you already know, your wife died on the spot," he said, the worst words Harry had ever heard. "I already know that. You don't have to say it again." The man turned away. "She's in the morgue now. You can take her out of there in a couple days," the doctor began to explain. Good. Selena realized that she would have to be the one to handle the funeral. Now about the daughter. The medic looked at the father, waiting for him to turn around, and he did. "What's wrong with her?" Harry asked hopefully. "She's alive, but it appears she has a badly damaged spine and a concussion," the doctor said quietly. "Where is she now?" Selena questioned. "She was taken to another city where there is a clinic where she can receive first aid." The man in the white coat did not hide anything. "So we can't even see her?" Anthony realized. "Yes," nodded his interlocutor. "It is clear grandfather was ready to do everything just to make sure that his loved ones were all right." Preparations began for Angelica to be buried. All the mirrors in the house were covered. The clothes were taken to the morgue. "Please can I be present at the cemetery?" Harry begged. The doctor agreed. Anthony arrived at the hospital. He helped move the young man into a chair. All was well. Saw the one that kept watching how he reacted. It was sad that day. Everyone was crying. Harry couldn't believe that his wife was no longer on this selenium. Now everything had to be done to get his daughter back on her feet. Now back to the hospital. Anthony promised the doctor that he wouldn't go out of his way to get his son back. Okay, he agreed. He spent time in the hospital, followed all the doctor's orders, and after a few weeks he was released home. One leg was still in a cast, but he was able to get around on crutches. "I want to go to my daughter," he told his parents. "We've been to see her. She won't be discharged for a while," Selena said and averted her eyes. But Harry didn't want to listen to anyone. He bought a ticket and drove to where his one and only Veronica was. "Hello," he entered her room. She was lying on a special bed. "Daddy, I'll never ski again," she cried. "What are you saying? I'll do anything to fix it." He took her hand. "No," the doctors threw up their hands when I asked them about it. She wouldn't stop crying. "I'll talk to them, find out what can be done about it," promised his daughter's father. "I'm sure they won't tell you anything new." Veronica turned away. "I'd rather die in this accident." "What are you saying?" He was frightened by such thoughts of his daughter. "The truth. Why do you need an invalid now?" To all the torment, she never turned around while her father was here. "Doctor, can I talk to you?" He came up to him. "Yes, let's go to my office." He led him down the hall. When they got there and sat down, Harry watched, waiting for him to start talking. "Why don't you say anything? Is there a chance?" He hoped his father would understand that he didn't need to say those terrible words out loud. "You see, the spine is damaged. There is a chance that your daughter will be disabled forever." The doctor looked at the man who was sitting across from him. He understood how hard it was for him. "No chance," clarified Harry once more. "There is." The medic stood up from his seat. "What?" His father immediately grasped this lifeline. "Surgery, which costs a lot of money, you can apply to the fund, but it is not a fact that they will quickly collect the necessary amount. stood and looked out the window. Doctor, I'll collect it. I'll do everything. But when Harry voiced the amount, he realized that even if he sold the car and the apartment, he would not have enough. And then, if he sold everything, where would he bring his daughter? The sad thoughts came back into his head. He went into Veronica's room one more time. Daughter, I'm going home. I need to think about something, and tomorrow I'll be at your place again. He leaned down, kissed her, and went. Today, he was back in touch with his parents again. No, he didn't want to ask them for anything, just he hoped, at least for advice. Wow, Selena heard the amount. We must definitely collect this money. There is less and less time, her son told her. We can take a loan, but you realize that it will be pennies, she said. Every penny counted now. He knew they wouldn't leave him in the lurch. The next day, Harry went to a fund to help those in need. They told him to write an application. They would be sure to let it go to work. But also the woman showed him a stack of exactly the same applications, and all needed help. I understood. Harry bowed his head, but still left the application, because hope had to remain. The father was on his way to see his daughter again. It wasn't a long drive, but he didn't care. He had to be there for her. You're having a hard time yourself. The daughter looked at her father's feet. What are you talking about? He came over to her and sat down next to her. What did you find out? She looked at him. You're going to have surgery, he told her confidently. Is that certain? She smiled. Of course, right now we need to get you back a bit, get you prepared, and only then can you be transported and made healthy. He was deceiving her, but the lie was for salvation. Harry was torn between the hospital where his daughter lay and the city where he lived. The mother and Anthony took out a loan, but it was a fraction of the amount the man had to raise. He sold his car, tried to take out a loan as well. It wasn't working, and time was running out, and he couldn't let it go. I will go to the place where Veronica is, rent an apartment there, and even though it will be very bad for me, I will not leave my daughter, he told his mother. Good. The main thing is that everything will work out. The woman blessed him. Harry arrived. He quickly found an inexpensive place to live. Now he did not care where to live. The main goal was his daughter and the collection of money. Hello, how's my application going? He came to the fund he applied to. I'm sorry, but there is nothing collected. The girl showed him the report. The man realized that nothing was working, as if everything was against him. So he decided to do something terrible. Harry decided to rob a bank. In the evenings at home, he planned how he would do it, and then what would happen. But it was not important. The main thing was to have time to hand over the money to his daughter to do everything that needed to be done. Hello, he came to the children's world. Welcome, can I help you with something? The consultant was looking at him. Yes, show me that gun over there. He showed me the toy, which was very similar to a real weapon. Sure, it's your son's birthday. The girl tried to guess. Yes, how did you know? Harry looked at her. Such gifts are only given on big holidays. She made eyes at him. I guess I'll take it, the man mumbled. And the bullets? She handed him a flask of blue and black balls. How interesting, he considered the toy, and did not understand why give children such a thing to mutilate each other. So, do you want it or not? The girl was waiting. Yes, thank you, I'll take it. He was sure of it. Harry paid. The gun was packed. The man left the store. At home, he considered the new toy. He had to think it over again. Step by step, he talked through when, what, and how he would do it. Today was X day, the date his father decided to do the dreaded thing. It was early morning, when no one could suspect anything yet. The man pulled on a black hat with holes in it. He ran into the bank building. There were visitors, 3 people. When they saw the bandit, they quickly retreated. Stop, it's a robbery. He shouted the words he'd heard in the movies. This was heard by the superintendent, who had ordered a drill for today. It was supposed to happen in the afternoon, so she took it all for a drill. So she came out into the hall. Freeze, he stepped around her and grabbed her, wrapping his arms around her neck. Girls, don't worry, it's just a drill. The headmistress tried to calm the staff. Everyone sat in their seats. At some point, the woman lowered her eyes to see if she could get out. What she saw in the next moment shocked her. What are you silent for? The burglar shouted at her. Harry, she was stunned. What? He loosened his grip. It's me, Kiera, she gasped with excitement. Come on, let's go. He pushed her towards her office. Girls, it's okay. Let's keep working. She was confident and went with the robber into her office. Everyone believed it was really a drill. How did you recognize me? He took off his hat in her office. By the scar on his arm, she looked at his wrist, and Harry pulled his sleeve tighter, just like when he was a child. "Well, hello, are you going to turn me in now?" It was frustrating to have to go to jail now instead of to the hospital to see his daughter. "You heard me. I told everyone it was a drill." She came up to the man. "You're settling in nicely." He looked around her office. "Not bad." Kira was looking out the window now. "I'm sorry, I didn't know why he said that myself." "Harry, come to my place. Tell me what happened to you," she pleaded with him. "I can't." He lowered his eyes, ashamed. "Why not?" She turned to the man. "Oh, okay. Let's go." For a moment, Harry thought the bank director might be able to help him. "All right then, let's go out the back exit." She showed him where to go. They got into the car, which wasn't the cheapest. They drove off, silent the whole way. Wow, they pulled up to a big cottage. "I'll tell you everything now if you promise me that you will also tell me why you went to such a step," looked Kara at him point blank. "Okay," was ready to cry Harry. They passed into the house. There the woman went to put the kettle on, and herself brought the cups and put them on the table. "My daughter is sick. She is disabled as of late," began to speak when Kira had not yet approached him. "Why? What's wrong?" She sat down across from him and began pouring tea into cups. Harry told her everything. He didn't hold back a single detail. "God, poor girl," she put her hands together. "Yeah, and it's all my fault." He lowered his head. "I'll help you." Kiera set the cup on the table. "What?" He heard her, but he couldn't believe it. "I'll give you money for your daughter's surgery," Kira clarified. "You don't even know how much money there is." He couldn't believe the woman had that kind of money. "Don't worry," she looked at him and smiled. "Why are you doing this?" he thought. Kira just felt sorry for him, but it didn't matter. The main thing was for her to help. "Where did you disappear to back in high school?" She changed the subject. "Does it matter now?" He didn't understand what she wanted from him. "Very much." She sat down next to him. "You and I were such close friends, to be honest. I thought that further on in life, we would go together." He was silent. "Why didn't you say anything to me about it?" She put her hand on his. "Then, in the 8th, when you told me you'd been dumped by Archie, I almost lost my mind." And then, he bowed his head. "Did you love me?" she guessed. "Yes." He shook his head. Harry remembered how bad he had felt the last time they had talked to Kira. "Why did you disappear then?" And she still didn't understand. "Because you stayed at school because of Alexander, and I was an extra in that relationship. You didn't want to talk about it." The memories were hitting harder and harder. Kiara got up from the couch they were sitting on. She went somewhere. Harry watched her. When she reappeared, she had some papers in her hands. "Do you want to see what these are?" She sat down next to him and began to spread the papers out on the table. "What's all this for?" Harry sat there, not understanding what she was trying to show and explain to him. "Look," she poked at the sheet where there was a photograph of some sort. He took it, brought it closer to examine it, his eyes widening. "That's the same coin I gave you." He couldn't believe it. "Yes, and I carried it with me all the time. You said it was going to be my talisman." Kira was shifting papers. So, he still didn't know what she was getting at. "When I graduated and started working at the bank, I wanted more. I ran every errand. I gave myself to my work. And when our boss retired after 5 years and I was put in charge, first as acting manager, and then as head of the bank, Kira was saying things that didn't connect with what she'd started. What's the coin got to do with it?" He reminded her. "We went to a meeting, and I saw a magazine that had to do with finance. It had an article about numismatics, coins, and collectors." She pulled out another sheet that had a picture of a page of the publication. And what happened next? He wasn't looking at the photo, he was looking at her. "Look," she poked again with her finger. Harry looked closer. There was the same coin in the magazine, and underneath it was the price it could be sold for. Wow, he was counting zeros. "I couldn't believe it then either," the woman admitted. "So you sold it," he guessed. "At first I gave it for examination, and when I was confirmed that it was really valuable, I decided not to keep it." Kara turned over the sheet. "And I wore it for nothing," Harry snorted. "But I never once regretted giving the coin to the girl I loved. After I got the money, I decided to give half of it to you. Took a long time to find it, came to your parents' house. Anthony said you were happy, and if I interfered, I could ruin everything," she told him. "You have no idea how timely I met you." He hugged the one who had been his friend for so long. "Harry, I always remembered you and only remembered the good things between us." He saw tears appear in her eyes. "Kiera, You were always a lifesaver. You didn't know what else to say. So you're alone now? They sat there talking. What about you? He got curious. I never got married. I met people who didn't want me. The woman said honestly. I see, he nodded. Where are you staying? The woman wondered. I'm renting an apartment, he admitted. You can stay with me, she waved her hands. Kind of awkward, he hesitated. Now, when the girl has her surgery, I think she'll be very comfortable here. She pressed on Harry's sore spot. Okay, but first we have to get Veronica into surgery. He got up. The man hailed a cab and drove to the hospital. Kira offered to drive him, but he refused. Hello, he ran into the office of the doctor who was monitoring the course of Veronica's illness. What's wrong? He was frightened. I found the right amount of money, practically shouted Harry. Okay, calm down, the doctor tried to sit him down. I can't, the father was shaking. If you really have the right amount of money, I can arrange it, and by tonight your daughter will be in the clinic, the doctor told him. Yes, I'd assure you, the man jumped to his feet again. Oh, now go to Veronica. Soon you will be told everything. He walked him to the door. Hi, honey, Daddy came into his daughter's room. Where have you been so long? You could see that the girl was crying again. Believe me, wherever I was, I didn't forget about you. He came over and hugged her. When am I going to have the surgery? It's been so long and I'm still lying here. There was so much sadness in her eyes. If everything works out, we will be at the clinic today, he told her the doctor's words. At least there was some good news. Her father took her hand. He held her hand as Veronica was carried down the corridor, loaded into the helicopter. The girl could not be transported any other way. Harry was by her side the whole time. Kira was on the phone 24/7. She was so eager to help that she forgot about her worries for a few days. Her daughter was being prepped for surgery, her father watching the whole thing. He felt so sorry for her. He never left her side. And so it began. Wording, thinking, a lot of time passed. When other doctors saw a man sleeping on a couch in the corridor, they came up and offered to move to a more comfortable place. No, I can't. I have a daughter there. He was always near me. After he said that, no one came near him. Harry, do you want me to come over? Kira called him. Isn't it hard for you? He realized it would be a lot easier if he wasn't alone. Wait, I'll be there soon. She had met her childhood friend and everything had changed for her. There were people who could and should be helped. The operation was over and the man was still kept in the dark. Doctor, what is it? Harry seemed to have aged in the few hours it had been going on. The surgery went well, but that's not all, the man answered him. How is Veronica feeling? My father was curious. The condition is normal. The doctor did not tell him anything else. Harry came to the ward. He sat next to the bed and prayed that his little blood child was doing well. I need to get in there, he heard from the hallway. It was Kiera. He walked out to her. It's okay, I'm here, they hugged. After that, his daughter had another surgery, fusing her vertebrae. A few months later, Kiera and Harry took her home. There was a long course of rehabilitation ahead. I still don't feel anything, Veronica said, when the best specialist started to work with her. She needs to go to China, Kira said knowledgeably. How to do that? Harry didn't understand. He'd never been abroad before. I will solve everything. The woman took responsibility for these two people. Kyra ran through the instances. She was confident in her abilities. She realized that the girl needs help, and as soon as possible. She managed to get them a referral and then made passports for all three of them. They took the girl to a distant country where the first progress was made, after which Veronica's health improved a little. Daddy, look, she wiggled her fingers. That's the first step towards your full recovery, Harry told her. Okay, I've arranged for the trainer to come to our house. Kiera came over. Thank you, you do so much for us. Harry looked at the woman. He realized that his feelings from back then as a child were coming back. I don't know why, but I feel like I owe you. She stepped close to him. Daddy, tell me about Kiera, his daughter asked him when the woman left. It's my childhood friend. We were very close to her. He did not go into details. I see. Why is she helping us now? Veronica had a lot of questions. Daughter, I'll tell you everything later. He didn't have time for that now. Every day they practiced. It's been a year and a half. The girl could stand up on her own at the machine. Do you think she'll be able to walk again? Harry asked Kira. They were sitting on the couch with their arms around each other. I believe she will. It can end sadly, the woman believed. You are the best woman. He kissed her on the top of her head. After your wife, she didn't want him to betray the memory of the one he loved. Perhaps at this moment Angelica was crossing his mind. Veronica was indeed getting better every day. She could already move from the stroller to the couch or bed by herself. The girl could stand up and even took tentative steps, but she was still afraid. Hello, the father dialed the number of the man who was not the last in his daughter's life. Harry? He was surprised. Can you come to us? The man asked him. Yes, of course, the coach knew what had happened to his ward. It was a pity for the girl. He was at their place a few days later. Look, showed me how Veronica was practicing. What do you want from me? Asked directly the girl's former coach. Take it. She stands and even walks, but she's afraid of it, said Harry. Okay, I'll try. He was ready for the difficulty. Then go ahead. The father was ready to call anyone to make it easy for his daughter. Veronica, the man opened his arms to embrace her. Victor, she stood at the simulator and even took a step in his direction. Well, shall we practice? He asked her. What about it? She looked at her legs. Slowly, he came over and touched her back and legs. I agree, athletic conditioning and stubbornness was helping the girl in this one. Why don't we go somewhere? Kira asked Harry once. What about his daughter? He couldn't and wouldn't leave her. I don't think she'll have time for you right now, Kiara was sure. Okay, I do need to rest, he agreed, but he wanted to stop by his parents' house first. When they showed up at Harry's ancestral home, Anthony was very surprised to see Kira by his side. His son had told them that an acquaintance had helped him, but there was no way he could think of her. Hello, they walked inside. How is your granddaughter doing? They called their son very often, but he didn't tell them much. We've called our coach over to see her. Maybe he can do something. Harry didn't want to be here for too long because there would be too many questions. After his parents, the man took Kira to where she and Angelica lived. Wow, what a nice apartment. She said the same thing everyone else had said when they were here for the first time. I can't stay here long, Harry admitted to her. They drove on, but the man couldn't take the drive. Maybe we could take an airplane, Kiara asked him. She realized that this was the road the family traveled to the south every year, and now it all hurt her beloved man's heart. I don't want to go there, he didn't want to offend her, but he couldn't not say it either. All right, we'll just take a course to the sanatorium, the woman agreed. Kira, will you be my wife? Those were the words Harry had wanted to say so many years ago. Yes, she replied calmly. I guess up there in heaven I was originally meant to be with you, and I didn't realize it. Come to me, they embraced. By the time the man and woman returned to Kira's house, they saw that there was no longer a wheelchair next to Veronica. How? Father stopped in the gym aisle. I make her walk by herself. Victor turned to them. On the wall, said the girl. Are you not scared anymore? The father came up to them. Dad, the coach promised me that if I get up, you will start training with me again, cried the daughter. Of course he would, turned to her father. Harry realized that he was saying that on purpose to spur the girl on. Kara and I have decided to get married. Will you be okay with that? No, I like her and she suits you. And I see that she really loves me. She treats me well. Veronica stretched out her arms for a hug. Kara hired tutors to tutor the girl. She was still in high school. She was picking up everything quickly and was ready to take her exams. Wait, how fast you are, the one who taught English told her. I think I know everything. I didn't understand why she couldn't take the exam right now. Tomorrow I will bring you a task book. If you solve everything, then you are ready, said the teacher. It's a deal, Veronica agreed. There was a knock on the door. The girl first wanted to get up and go. The coach did not allow all the time to ride in a wheelchair. But then she thought that it would be long and went. Hello, there was a young guy standing on the doorstep. Hi, who do you want? The girl looked up at him from below. Probably you, he handed her a task book. Are you the son of an English woman? Veronica guessed. Aha, my mother told me to tell you that when she said that she was engaged with a girl with disabilities, I imagined you quite differently. He did not realize that these words could offend her. Veronica, she gave him her hand. Anthony, he shook it. Shall we go for a walk? She pointed to the lawn that was in front of the house. Would that be convenient? He was still in a stupor. Sure enough, she drove out of the house. There, in the fence clearing were specially installed supports by which the girl walked. So what kind of invalid are you? Anthony watched her stand up. Wanted to help, but she stopped him. From that point on, the guy and the girl began to communicate. They corresponded, and when no one was home, he came to visit her. Perhaps thanks to him, Veronica tried even harder. "So you will soon start running," laughed at her Grigory. "That's a good thing," she smiled too. Harry and Kira set a date for the wedding. "Daddy, can I be with a friend?" Veronica herself didn't understand why she thought her father would forbid her to go out with him. "You have a friend?" Her father was surprised. "Yes," she said. "Why did you keep silent before? Invite him to visit." He hugged his daughter. The wedding wasn't big and lavish, though Kira had proposed to make such a wedding. They gathered at her house. Harry's parents arrived, Victor, Veronica, Anthony, his mother, and a couple of Kira's co-workers, and that was all the guests who came to congratulate them. "Daddy, I wish you to be happy." Veronica congratulated her father. "If you will be happy, then I will not suffer," he answered her. "I promise to be happy." The girl looked at her boyfriend. Great, they were all proud of what the girl had achieved by this time. After that, everyone drank, ate, congratulated the bride and groom. "I've dreamed of this for so many years," he kissed his wife. "Harry, you're the best thing that ever happened to me," she hugged him. "What if I hadn't noticed that bump?" The man said. What bump?" Kira didn't understand. "Well, where I found the coin," he reminded her. "Yeah, then there wouldn't have been any of this." She looked him in the eye. "You wouldn't have helped my daughter. That was painful to think about." "It's okay, it's in the past." She tried to make sure he never brought it up again. There were only good things ahead. They stood like two teenagers and snuggled up to each other. "Sure," she agreed with him. "What do you think of Anthony?" Harry asked his wife. "He's a nice guy. I think he's good for Veronica." She remembered how they had cuddled together today without anyone seeing them. "I'm glad she's not shutting herself in and continues to live a normal life." Harry shared his fears. "Do you think we'll be able to have a baby?" Kiara interjected. "What?" He was surprised at what this woman was talking about. "Why, we're not that old yet." She laughed when she saw the confusion in the young man's eyes. "I don't know, but I think it's too late to think about it." He pressed her against him, and he thought to himself that it was quite real. A month later, Veronica had exams, which she was preparing to pass. In this, she was helped by everyone. When the responsible day came, the girl told everything brilliantly. Now she had a certificate in her hands. "I congratulate you." Anthony kissed her. "Thank you." She was grateful to everyone who had helped her lately. Her father and Kira threw a party for their daughter. Like at your graduation, the woman tried to make the girl feel good. "Dad, and you will let me go with Risha? They are going to the south?" Veronica asked him. "You will go." He was surprised. Here he could not. One must overcome his fears. She was brave. "Okay, if you decide so yourself, then go." He hugged his daughter. "Thank you, the best daddy in the world." She squeezed him tight. "Daughter, I love you." He kissed her cheek. "And I love you." She looked out the window, seeing Anthony waiting for her outside. Kiara suggests having another baby. He himself doesn't know why he decided to tell his daughter that. "Go ahead, you've still got it all ahead of you." "Didn't mind, daughter. You're the best." He walked her to the door and handed her to the boy. "All yours," she winked at him. Harry and Kiara stood at the door of the house and watched Anthony and Veronica walk away from them. The daughter's all grown up now, the man thought, and kissed his wife.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.